Sorry, this is too low for me, but so hi, Paula. So as someone who works for the Illinois Department of Aging, I have the ability to disseminate information broadly to the 12.8 million individuals in Illinois. However, beyond just calling our lawmakers, what else can we do to activate our networks to advocate for what we know is right? I don't work for a program that's Medicaid, but the majority of our department does. So what can we do to activate our network?
Okay, we got a group of advocates up here. Who wants to lead? I know Ramsey, you go for it.
Well, that's a wonderful opportunity right there, and we've got to maximize all of the touch points we have. We've got to make sure people get the right information, so make sure they're getting educated on, say, the most recent leak from OMB and HHS in regard to the president's request of the budget and the many programs that are moved and zeroed out and what that will mean for them. We also need to continue to educate not only beneficiaries directly, but the family caregivers, the family at large, so everyone is aware of the current state of play. And then when members are home in the district work periods, we've got to get them out to see the work in action. It's magical at the area agencies on aging, at the senior centers, all the other community-based organizations doing this work. The power of the work on display will change hearts and minds. We need to get the policymakers out of the bubble of DC. When they're home, bring them out to see the programs in action, to talk with those that are benefiting from the programs, and the magic can happen.
I'm going to toss myself into this one because I am stunned, and maybe if I see heads nod, you'll agree. I am stunned at how many older adults do not know what federal program provides them their meals. Or provides them their transportation.
Absolutely.
Or provides them their jobs. Okay? So if we're talking about activism, one of the first things we have to do is educate who could be the most powerful advocates of all. The educated older adult who then will understand that if you eliminate that program, there goes my meal. Right. So that's someplace. Who else? Please.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And I would say, that's a great opportunity for local service providers and advocates is, what does, take Medicaid, for example. We call it Medicaid, and I can talk about on an issue brief the Medicaid program, but if you're in Tennessee, if you're in California, if you're in Pennsylvania, it's not called Medicaid. It's its own names, right? And so the opportunity to help folks understand where those funding flows come from, and I've already just fell victim to it, calling it a funding flow, right? But what does this mean for communities? I think is important. And then two, I think, is the storytelling component. We talk to folks on the Hill. They don't know what respite is. They don't know what a home and community-based support is. So being able to uplift those services in your community, I think, is really important. What does a respite program look like in a community? Who's benefiting from that program? I think one of the things we love the most is when we get a story placed in a local news outlet, forget the New York Times or the Wall Street Journal. It's what is the Detroit Free Press covering, right? That is, I think, the most powerful focus right now, is really putting a spotlight on how these programs make care work in communities and in families.
Anyone else?
And then I would say, Brian, I know you work for the State Unit on Aging, right? Illinois Department on Aging. So now without ACL, all of the state units on aging directors are not necessarily able to talk to each other because there's no meetings anymore, there's no regional meetings, there's nothing where people are coalescing together where they used to be able to talk to one another on a state, national level. So I would say break it down by state and really, in Illinois, put in your next newsletter, do you know what the APS Act is? Do you know what it funds? Do you know what it does? It's up to us now to explain what we do and how we do it and how it will matter to them. So let's take the moment, seize it, and let's be bold. And let's explain it and express it and make sure we tell them this is going to be personal to you and this is why.
And I just like to add on the piece that Jason mentioned about the local papers. I was a congressional staffer well over a decade ago, and any good congressional office, any good member of Congress is doing press clips every single day. They are pulling stories from all of the local papers in and around the district, and that counts for briefing the member, right? And so you may think that, oh, we're just getting stories in paper, we're sharing our voices, but you're also ringing the bell for the Hill as well. And it's really, really important to make sure that you're utilizing the local press.
I remember when I worked on Capitol Hill, we did the same thing. We had two piles. Communications that are praising the congressman and the ones that are opposing the congressman. You can imagine the different sizes of the piles, okay? They were very, very,
Yeah.
Nadine?
Yeah, I just want to add two things. One of them is that in the moment where you're able to, there's a slogan, start with a solution, which is to get to people in the headspace of neighbor to neighbor helping each other out. And in that, whether it's at a food pantry or at a senior center, when you get people into the headset of how you can look out for each other, it changes the way they learn and what information they will accept. So things that explain, hey, we're concerned that there are going to be people in our community that are going hungry, and we'd love for you to be part of coming up with a strategy that will protect. The fact that those breadcrumbs will lead them to protecting things further up the food chain. You don't have to start there. When we were dealing with Moms for Liberty, again, I'm not going to take you all the way down the rabbit hole, but the most important thing we did was engage actual parents who had kids in the school, not these political operatives, but real parents. And we didn't care if they were Republicans or independents or never voted. We said, we will help you make sure that your kid is safe. And those parents became the absolute backbone of pushing back against Moms for Liberty. Not because we recruited them to be political, but we started with the solution of what they needed to create safety for their kids. So we've got to apply those kinds of things, and at the risk of this being a commercial, but it's a commercial for this conference, we're going to have a workshop a half hour after this one closes about the deep dive into the strategies we've used in Florida with Trump Jr., DeSantis, and how they work. And so I encourage you to join us in Florida A through C at 3:30.
All right, there you go.